The First Battle of Bull Run was the first of two engagements fought at a small stream named Bull Run near Manassas in northern Virginia. The strategic significance of the location was the fact that Manassas was an important railroad junction. In the days following the Battle of Fort Sumter, the Union capital at Washington, D.C. strengthened its defenses and secured its railway connection with the North through Baltimore via the Baltimore and Ohio Railway. Washington's other significant rail line, the Orange and Alexandria, ran southwest to Lynchburg, Virginia. Control of this line would be much contested in the days to come. It was joined in at Manassas Junction, 30 miles southwest of Washington, by the Manassas Great Gap Railway from Strasburg in the Shenandoah Valley. Robert E. Lee, commanding the Virginia State Forces, was loath to become the aggressor in the expanding conflict and refrained from attacking Washington or supporting Confederate sympathizers in Baltimore. Abraham Lincoln had proclaimed a blockade of Confederate ports on April 19th and called for 42,000 three-year volunteers and 40,000 more men to join the regular Army and Navy. Lincoln was awaiting the result of Virginia's referendum on secession and scrupulously avoided any violation of Virginian territory, although federal troops crossed the Potomac and without opposition occupied the West Bank for the protection of the capital. Although Winfield Scott, the commanding general of the Union Army, had little faith in the state militia units, he proposed to use them to defend Washington and recover the federal garrison at Harper's Ferry, while he trained the newly raised volunteers for an autumn campaign. After initial skirmishes at Blackburn's Ford on July 18th, Beauregard's forces retired behind Bull Run in defense of positions. McDowell, discovering that the Confederate right and center were too strong for a frontal assault, undertook a flanking movement around the enemy left. His delay in advancing, however, would prove the undoing of his plan. Upon receiving the Union movements, Beauregard notified the authorities in Richmond by telegraph, and Johnston, then facing Patterson's army near Winchester, was ordered to join Beauregard as quickly as possible. Johnston was able to mask his intentions and, utilizing the Manassas Gap Railroad, moved 10,000 troops to Bull Run. Johnston arrived on the scene on July 20th and, as the ranking general, accepted Beauregard's plan of attack against Centerville, a town 5 miles to the east. Before the attack could be launched, however, the Union Army assaulted the Confederate left on July 21st. McDowell took personal command of 2 of his 4 divisions, controlling the turning movement at Sudley Ford, while one division executed a feint at the Stone Bridge, and the last remained at Blackburn's Ford in reserve. McDowell's inexperienced troops arrived at Sudley Ford more than 2 hours late. Confederate Colonel Nathan Evans, who had been left to guard the Stone Bridge, quickly assessed that the attack on the bridge was merely a demonstration, and he was able to move 11 of his 15 companies to Matthews Hills above Sudley Springs. There he was supported by brigades commanded by Barnard B., Francis Bartow, and Thomas Jackson. At about 9:15 a.m., the federal troops came under Confederate fire, and they were forced to deploy. But 2 hours later, McDowell's flanking threat caused Evans, B., and Bartow to withdraw in disorder to the Henry House Hill. Jackson's 1st Brigade stood firm, however, and B. reportedly shouted to his men, "There is Jackson, standing like a stone wall. Let us determine to die here, and we will conquer. Rally behind the Virginians." The Union assault was checked, but both B. and Bartow were mortally wounded while leading their troops. The fighting at Henry House Hill was severe, and about 1:30 p.m. McDowell brought up 2 artillery batteries to the fighting line, a Confederate regiment being mistaken for friendly troops and allowed to approach, silenced the guns with close rifle fire. From that time, though the hill was taken and retaken several times, the Union attack made no further headway, and at 2:45 p.m., with more of Beauregard's troops having come up, Jackson's brigade launched a bayonet charge on the wavering Union lines. At the same time, the Union troops were assailed by the last brigades of Johnston's army, which had arrived at the critical moment from the railway. The Federal forces gave way at once, and a Confederate artillery barrage turned the retreat into a panicked fight to the Potomac. The victors were also exhausted and did not pursue, although Johnston moved to the heights. In total, the casualties McDowell's army of 28,000 suffered 460 killed and 1,100 wounded, with over 1,300 listed as missing or captured. Beauregard and Johnston's 32,000 Confederates lost 387 and 1,500 were wounded, with just 13 reported.
Premium Forever Love necklace to my beautiful love. Buy this necklace, click my YouTube video description product link, and shop now.